Today I want to talk to you about, I forgot. I know. I want to talk to you about the dilemma that I think every spiritual creative experiences when you're creating content on social media, especially, right? So there's this tug of war inside of you where part of you lives in the fantasy of cat scratches, so distracting. There's this fantasy of creating these masterpieces of creative genius content pieces, right? And then on the other hand, you know that you need to create short form pieces that are digestible for social media that will sell. So basically, I want to talk about balancing the creative, esoteric, philosophical side of creating content and the practical stuff, aka making money in your business, because that's important too. So a lot of spiritual creatives, myself included, and not as much now anymore, but I used to struggle with this a lot. I used to really resist the idea of creating short form. I hated the idea of making these 1-minute videos. First of all, they felt really rushed. Second, I felt that honestly there was no way I was going to actually say what I needed to say in a minute. It was always going to be this shallow bit, of idea. It's not the whole thing. Okay? And I was like, well, isn't it attracting a certain type of person that I don't necessarily want to have as part of the audience? Maybe my work is not for them. So I had a lot of resistance towards this. And I tried creating short form, especially in 2022. I went really hard on this one and I was making so many shorts. I remember one day I was like flying and at the airport, I'm holding my laptop and I'm still uploading videos last minute to the drive. So I started creating a lot of short form, and sure enough, it helped me get visibility, but it wasn't necessarily the quality that I was looking for. What I realized ultimately, and the reason why there's this resistance within, is because we are not allowing ourselves the space to fully express ourselves completely and freely. So there's part of you that's actually craving an even deeper self-expression, and you are not expressing yourself fully just yet. We never are, really. We are always in this constant process of expressing ourselves more and more and more. But the more there's this craving of expressing yourself, the more there's this resistance or this feeling that you are holding yourself back, this knowing that you've outgrown your kind of content and you're ready for the next level. The more there is that, the more resistance there's going to be to short form. So the cure is to understand that it's not an either or, and I have the board behind me, and those of you who have been following me for a while, I love my boards, and I'm going to use it today to talk about why both of these things are important and the difference between building versus growing an audience. And you might be thinking, like, what's the difference? What's building versus growing? It's the same thing, right? We use these words interchangeably, but actually it's not the same thing. So your deep content, your long form content, the content that you crave to create, the one that expresses your creative side, is the stuff that's going to build an audience, and then the short form is going to grow it. What's the difference? So I like to think of content like conversations, because that's really what it is. And I like to think of an audience like people that you have a relationship with, again, because that's literally what it is. So when you're creating content, you're having conversations at scale. It's just that when we get in front of a camera, somehow we overthink it and we make it something that it's not. But really, you're building relationships, you're having conversations with people, and you're building relationships at scale, all right? So if you're sitting at a party and you're telling a great story, or you're talking about something that's, I don't know, riveting, not necessarily, but you're talking about something that's actually beyond just talking about the weather, right? That's what's going to build relationships. That's what's going to create a real deep connection. But if you're only talking to 3 people, you're not growing your audience, you're still deepening the relationship. But to grow means that you're talking to more people. So if build is the depth of the relationships, then growth is width of your relationships. So it's not either or. It's not that you have to create either long form or short form. It's not that you have to create deep, meaningful conversations or talk about the weather or, create short form stuff that's going to attract more people. The idea is that when you create short form, if you're not fulfilling this side of yourself, you will feel like you are lacking in your self-expression, and you will feel like your content is shallow. But if there's a chunk of your content that's targeting growth, that's about attracting a bigger number of people, But at the same time, you know, you are allowing yourself the space and time to create the stuff that you feel proud of, that you feel excited to share, the stuff that makes you feel alive, as I like to always say. Then you will be fulfilling this. How I like to do it is to start from here. So I start from conversations that will build the relationship, stuff that I am genuinely excited to talk about. So I start from these like longer form pieces of content. And then from these longer forms of piece of content, I will extract the little nuggets that are sound bites of some sort, or exciting, or just the main idea, right? And those will become my short form, and they will become the stuff that will grow the audience. And when you are doing it this way, you ensure that you're always driving the conversation towards something meaningful. You're driving the relationship towards something meaningful. And at the same time, it makes the creation so much easier, because you, anyway, when you create long form, you have to think about, but like, what are the main points that I'm going to talk about in this video? You could just kind of wing it, but you learn pretty quickly as a creator that the more thinking you do before you create the video, the better, not only the better the video comes out, but the easier it's going to be as far as editing. It's going to be a lot less editing, and nowadays I actually, most of the time, I don't even edit, because I don't like editing and I don't want to give it to somebody else. I just want to be like, this is a skill that I want to build. It's the skill of expressing myself fully and freely. It's not about getting better at editing. Nothing against editing, by the way. Sometimes I do it, but yeah, anyway. So point is, I'm in it to explore my own thoughts. I'm in it to explore my ideas. I'm in it to process this and share it. And when I'm writing these main points, like 1, 2, 3, 5 main points in the video, they are going to become the stuff that is the nugget that is going to be turned into short form content, which will be used to grow the audience. And then the cool thing about this that I didn't understand but I'm understanding now, is that this is actually a great way for personal growth and development. Because yes, I can't say everything about a thought or dive deep enough in a 1-minute video, but it is nice to challenge myself to say something meaningful and interesting enough and helpful enough, and do it all in 60 seconds or less. And it's a great skill to learn brevity and to learn to speak to a complete stranger and say say more with less, right? Say more with less words. I like practicing the skill. I think for me, it helps me. So I'm enjoying this process. And yeah, that's another part of why I do it. So again, it's not an either or. And if you allow yourself to express yourself fully and freely, and give into the craving that your soul has for full self-expression, then you will not have as much resistance to creating the quote-unquote shallow stuff. And no, you will not attract shallow people. You can actually think about your own experience and how so many times you went on social media with a mindset of just scrolling, not because you're a shallow person, but because that context that you were in that moment is that you just weren't prepared. So you're like, okay, how long is this video? 20 minutes? Okay, I'll save it to watch later. And then you never watch it. So put yourself in their shoes. It's not because they are shallow and this and that. It's because the context is everything. So if you provide them with these opportunities, that's another chance for this person to discover you, to discover your longer form content. And then if they are in alignment, they're going to love it, they're going to enjoy it, and they're going to be watching you for a while. I hope this was helpful. Go to brandsarelive.com/mojo to get a video like this every once in a while. I'll see you soon. Bye.